All right, so let's jump right into the design. We're gonna start with a 2-inch thick walnut slab that is 8 feet long. We're gonna cut that down to 60 inches. We're gonna do one continuous pour of epoxy. The first step is to get this slab milled down to the correct size. All right, now that I got the slab broken down into 2 pieces, the next step is to put it in the form. Before I do that, I had a couple cracks and checks reveal themselves as I was milling them up. So I'm gonna have to go through with some epoxy or CA glue in some of these and fill them before I put them in the form. So I started at 2 inches and my final thickness is 1.5 inches. So that's where I'm gonna be. That's how deep my pour is gonna be. That's the max depth of the epoxy that I'm using to pour at one time.
You got me down again.
The form I'll be using for this is made out of MDF with home wrap tape. I went ahead and built it ahead of time off camera just to speed up the process. There's nothing really to it. It's important just to get it watertight. Mine measures 60 inches by 18 inches wide and it's just completely waterproof. I've got caulk running around the outside. The only thing left to do is to get the clamps on this and then we're gonna be ready to pour. So to achieve the look that we're going for, we're going to use Chill Epoxy's opaque black chill drops. So this isn't going to be see-through, it's just going to be solid black. All right, now that we got it out of the form, we're gonna take it over to the CNC to try and flatten it. So here's the slab. It's been a long time getting to this point, but it's gonna be well worth it. It took over 8 hours on the CNC to flatten both sides It normally wouldn't take that long, but I used the bit that I had, but I'll definitely invest in a flattening bit next time. It probably would have cut the time in a fourth. There are other ways to flatten a slab. Many people have gone over and used those ways. So by no means, if you don't have a CNC, you can still get this done. So I squared up the edges, but the next step is to sand. And now I'm not gonna bore you guys with all the sanding, but just know that I'm gonna start with 120 grit because this thing is very smooth already. Get any imperfections out of it, and I'm gonna end on 300. Everything is sanded. The next step is to cut the miter joints to make the two legs in the tabletop. And we're gonna cut those on the table saw using the cross-cut sled. Here are the three separate pieces, the two legs, the tabletop. In order to get the geometry for this waterfall look, we had to cut the miter, but then you saw that we had to take a triangle out, and that way these angles right here will line up. All right, the next step is to get these three pieces jointed together. There's gonna be two joints here. To strengthen this miter joint, I'm going to be using dowels. It's been an hour. That 5-minute epoxy cures in an hour. I'm not gonna put any weight or anything on it. Next step is to sand it and get some finish on it. All right, so this piece is gonna be around for a long time with our family. It's gonna be in our living room. The design was driven by my wife. She picked out the design. She loves walnut, loves black, and that's really what drove it. The most difficult part of the project was actually getting these dowel holes to line up. Having a domino and using dominoes would have been a lot simpler. Polymer Technologies Chill Ice 1 is the epoxy that I used. I don't think I said that earlier, but it was my first time using the product. The reason I picked it was it's a deep pour product. I poured it 1.5 inches thick, which is the max that it says you can pour it. And it cured in 3 days, and what a fantastic product. There'll be links to all the products I use down in the description. If you enjoy this project, check out these videos right here. All right guys, that will do it for this one, and I will see you next time I'm building something in my shop.